This is Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, watching us on Big 12 Studios. Alongside Ari Timken, I'm James Westling. It's a game week for TCU in North Carolina, week 0 in Dublin, and we welcome in the voice of TCU athletics, Brian Estridge, on the show. Brian, if I was putting together an Instagram carousel of the top Brian Estridge summertime moments, what would be what would be number one?
Probably a Thursday in July where I shaved my back. Felt real good about it. That was really the first time this year that I'd gotten to that and needed it. And it looked like somebody had shot a fox in my yard when it was over with, but that's okay.
Yeah, James, I don't think you were there that time that Brian was shaving his back while doing an interview on video.
Yeah.
It was actually,
Sounds like a typical Tuesday.
I think I was in a hotel doing that too. The maid was not real happy after seeing all that in the tub.
Well, I mean, that's where you're supposed to do it, right? You're not supposed to do it at your own house where it gets really dirty, right? I mean, you're supposed to do it somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, that's why do you pack? Why else do you pack the razors, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Let's go.
Come on. Speaking of packing the razors, when you going to Dublin? When you going to the homeland?
Yeah, leaving on Wednesday with the team. Team travels out Wednesday evening, arrives Thursday in Dublin, and gets a little shakeout, a little walkthrough in on Thursday. Got some commitments they've got to do, and then Friday, obviously another practice, pep rally on Friday, and then play the game on Saturday. Fly home Sunday. It's a quick trip to Dublin.
Yeah. So, what stands out to you about this game this year?
Well, I mean, obviously the sense of urgency to start the season is important. And the international stage, brings a whole host of challenges. They're not bad. It's just, it creates a different set of challenges for you. I think it's great that you got the whole world's attention, if you will, sort of kicking off the season. I'm excited about the new quarterback that TCU has in Jaden Craig. I'm anxious to see how he adapts to the 1A football game, if you will, the P4 game. I think that's going to be great. I think it's going to be fun to see how Gordy Samus, the new offensive coordinator, handles things at TCU and how different they look. I'm anxious to see how Bobby Petrino has affected North Carolina. New offensive coordinator. What kind of influence will he have on a team that was kind of in disarray last year? How much improvement do we see there? And there's just something exciting about starting football, right? I mean, it's here. We get to dive right in the middle of it.
Brian, when it comes to what we're going to see from TCU offensively, we went back and we were really stunned to find that Josh Hoover and the UConn quarterback, where Gordon Samus was coordinating that offense last year, they had the exact same number of passing attempts and the exact same number of games. And I think there's this perception that it's going to be run, and the passing game's going to be limited. But that tells me that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's going to be a case of, this is an 80% run team. Although Sonny Dykes did joke about that last week. When I asked him, hey, what in a perfect world, what would that ratio be? And he actually said 80-20 run. And I said, wait a minute, is this air raid Sonny Dykes saying this? And he pointed out that just means you're whipping everybody. But no, I think it's going to be a team that takes what the defense gives them. You're right. I mean, he, the quarterback for UConn last year did have the same number of throws as Josh Hoover. The big difference was interceptions. That UConn quarterback only threw one. I think he threw 25 or 26 touchdowns and one pick. So I think that's kind of where you start to see differences in the offense. They may not take as many chances, risky chances. They may be willing to settle for a screen or a check down or things of that nature. And I think that's what's been preached into Jaden, is be a good decision maker. Two hands on the football at all times. They call them BIJs, which for a minute I had to think about it because I was like, whoa, what does that mean? Can I repeat that on air? I'm thinking here, oh, whoa, wait, BIJ, what could that be? Balls in jeopardy. No balls in jeopardy. That's what they're looking for out there offensively. And so I think that's what's been preached. And I think that's what you're going to see on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, and then defensively, this should be the strength of this football team.
Yeah.
What are you most excited about with this defense?
Yeah, I think this defensive line may be one of the better defensive lines we've ever seen around here at TCU. I mean, They have depth. They have talent. They can kind of play any game you name. They have size, which is always an issue, obviously, in Big 12 football, And so I think that kind of is the exciting thing to me. I think the defensive backfield, I think the corners are going to be okay. I really do. I think Vernon Glover's going to have a great year at corner. You got questions at linebacker, and they know it. And I think that's interesting. Andy Avalos touched on that in his last press conference. Said, "Hey, that room knows that you're talking about them as the weak link, and he fully expects them to step up. You got some questions at safety, obviously, but to me, this defense, it's all about the defensive line. Really on offense too, Ari. I mean, I think this offensive line is homegrown. It's been a slow burn, as Sonny Dykes said, to build an offensive line with depth where you get 10 guys that you feel really, really good about, that are not only big and strong, but are athletic as well, with an understanding of the offense. So I think it's got a chance to be really good also.
Brian, what's your take on the secondary with Fields getting dismissed from the team last week? What does that group look like now, and who fills that void?
Yeah, I think there's obviously a bit of a void there, but I mean that was a battle, going back and forth throughout the camp, at safety. I mean, and there's a couple of young guys that we're not thinking about, that we're not really talking about, that I think are going to be pretty good for it. But Jordan Lester is a guy who's played a lot of football, and he'll start at that safety spot. And you've got Caden McFadden behind him. Is another young guy that they're high on, that has played some ball. Devin Hadrago is a kid who's come in, a sophomore, who didn't play in the spring. He's out of Franklin. They're really high on him. Ryan Yates is another guy. So those are names that none of us are talking about, right? That none of us have heard, that I think have a chance to be pretty good players. And so to me, though, it's all about Lester. I mean, Jordan's 6'2", 220 back, or probably 210 at safety, playing it free now. And then you got Jamel Johnson, who's got a lot of playing time, getting a lot of attention and strong, and Julius Sims at the nickel that can help cover things. So I'm not panicked about that spot yet.
Brian, what can you tell us about the fallout, the situation with Jacob Fields and the fallout from that?
Yeah, I don't know if there was any fallout other than Lester, it's your time to step up. I mean, I think that's a big thing. Is Jordan, here's your opportunity. I think that's the biggest thing. I was impressed at how Sonny Dykes handled the situation. I was impressed at how this team handled the situation, and that next man up. You're either with us or you're against us, and so I think that's been the case. And Jordan Lester's that next guy. Now you get a chance, to take on a North Carolina team that there are a ton of questions about them. They got a new quarterback, got a new offensive coordinator. What are you going to see out of them offensively? It's still kind of a patchwork offensive line. So I think that is the biggest challenge for this defense right now.
Chatting with Brian Estridge, play-by-play voice of TCU. So this game is always kind of gross, but week 0.
Yeah.
What would make you feel like, okay, this was fine? Like,
yeah.
When's the last time anybody even scored 30 points over there in Dublin?
Yeah, it's kind of like eating at a Chinese buffet with Ari. You're going to get something on you. I mean, that's just what's going to happen. And so, yeah, I think that's going to be fun to see. I mean, it probably will be wet. It'll probably be rainy. The grass is probably going to be high. You got all those things working against you. So, but you know what? Let's go do it. I think the big thing is, you've seen programs and teams over the years that have played in this game that you could almost feel like it affected them the rest of the year. And I think the preparation and the planning going into this one for TCU is to avoid that. And that's why, you're not seeing them going out there for a week or anything like that. It's a quick trip. It's in and out. And then you get a week off after this game to get ready for the rest of the season.
What do you think is the thing that people are missing about Jaden Craig?
I think people say, oh, he played at Harvard in the Ivy League, as if that's a bad thing. And I'm one of those nerds that would watch Friday night Harvard football, and back then it was on the NBC network. I don't even know where they air them now, but maybe ESPN does them. I'm not sure. But anyway, it's football is football. Now, are the players going to be bigger? Are they going to be a little bit faster? Yeah, there's going to be some of that. But if you can play, you can play. And there's a reason why NFL scouts already think this guy's a mid-round selection. I mean, they see something in him. He's a smart kid. He's calm. He doesn't get rattled. The speed has not affected him at all this spring or the fall. And so I think people are underestimating. Here's the other thing, Ari. He was under recruited out of high school. It was in the middle of COVID. His mother really wanted him to go to Ivy League school, so that was kind of a lock-in anyway. It wasn't as if he couldn't play back then either. It was just a kind of a crazy sequence of events that led to it. Good for him, though. He got a degree from Harvard, graduated, and now gets a chance to continue that with a season at TCU.
Brian, how challenging can it be to prepare as an announcer for a Week 0 game when the opponent they release a two-deep? Like, there's been nothing from North Carolina's camp in terms of what this team will look like.
Yeah, no, that's the hard part. I mean, it really is. But it was hard last year with them. You didn't get any information. You just got to read as much as you can. You got to take some guesses. You got to take some chances. Thinking, hey, okay, well, this guy was a highly recruited guy. He should be that. But I think the biggest thing is just try to read as much as you can and try to figure it out and over prepare. I mean, James, you know this. You do this every day as a play-by-play guy. You're going to use about 30% of what's on your chart anyway. In this case, it might be about 15%. You're just going to put as many guys on there as you can, hope that you pick the right ones, and be ready to pull out the Sharpie in the middle of the game when some dude shows up you never heard of.
Yeah, seriously. And then what about, defensively? We're not really sure the situation with Steve Belichick. I'm assuming he's not going to make the trip based on what we've heard. He's on medical leave. Does that mean Bill's going to call the defense?
I think that's going to be the plan. I mean, at least that's what we're hearing. He will have a hand in it, so you better believe he'll have some influence. And what does that mean? I mean, are there changes between the two? I don't think. I think they kind of think alike. But I mean, there's so many things that go into this that you would love to have the answers to that we just don't heading into that game. And so I think that's why, you kind of build your preparation and your chart in Jell-O, because you can wiggle it out if you need to and straighten it up in another way.
Yeah, that's well said. Brian, would love to get your perspective on the league as a whole. Who do you really like this year that maybe isn't getting the love that they should, and just your overall top 3 headlines?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a couple of things. I think that the league is wide open, to be honest with you. I mean, I really do. I mean, I know everyone wants to go ahead and anoint, Texas Tech and BYU as the 2 top teams in the league. I think Arizona's going to be better. I think Central Florida's going to be better. West Virginia's got to be better, right? Don't be surprised if Baylor's better than we think down there. And then you're going to have some that you go, I don't know. I'm anxious to see how K-State is, and does the system change at all? I don't think it does there. Iowa State, obviously, we think is going to struggle this year based on just how depleted the roster was at that point. Utah, do they take a step back? I think a team that I think quietly could be better and people aren't necessarily talking about, which is odd to say because they talk about them a lot, and that's Colorado. I think Colorado could be better. So I get the sense that it's been a real work focus this year at Colorado as much as anything. And so I think to me, though, there's no clear-cut favorite. I mean, there's a clear-cut spender, but there's not necessarily a clear-cut favorite. And so I think, I think everybody's going to have an opportunity in this one. And that's what TCU wants, is just a chance to be in the discussion at the end, and then let the play on the field decide it and not worry about what everybody's making or what they're spending or, whatever else figures into it.
Brian, what do you like about Colorado?
I just get a sense that they're working harder, man. That it's been more about football and less about show this year. And they're spending money. I mean, it's not as if they didn't spend any money on the football roster. So there is that there. I just get the sense. You asked me who we're not talking about that could be better. I just feel like they could be that team.
Yeah, they got a brutal schedule. If they made a bowl, it would be a tremendous season.
Yeah, I think don't count them out. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I like it.
And by the way, can I say this? The league needs them to be good.
Yeah.
The Big 12 needs Colorado to be good. They need Dion to be good. We need folks talking about Colorado football.
Yeah, that's well said. All right, Brian, can't wait for the call on Saturday. Safe travels, and we'll talk soon.
Hey, have a monster for me.
Done. Love it.
Figured it. Figured it.
You're the man.
All right, boys.
All right, see you, Brian.
See you, brother.
See you.
Brian Estridge, play-by-play voice of TCU Athletics, joining us here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. Likes Colorado, your initial sleeper team. Also, really likes what TCU's put together in the trenches. I think it's really encouraging that Sonny Dykes, the first position group he talked about most recently was the offensive line. Their defensive line looks ginormous.
Yeah, no, I mean, and we'll get into it in a moment here, but we'll talk bowl season. There's 7 bowl projections that I've referenced. 0 of those 7 have Colorado go bowling this year. So it's Brian and myself against the world.
Against the world.
Yeah.
You guys are prestige worldwide.
Yes.
All right, coming up next, a little bowl talk. It's never too early to talk Big 12 bowl projections. It is Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. You are watching us on Big 12 Studios, listening to us, powered by Modelo on TuneIn.